I'm 78 years old, and a few years ago, I reached a point I never expected. Walking didn't hurt sharply. It wasn't an injury. It was worse than that. Every step felt heavy. My knees felt stiff before I even stood up. My hips needed a moment to wake up. I told myself what most people my age do. This must be normal. This must be aging. Then one afternoon, an old friend of mine, also in his late 70s, stopped me mid-conversation and said something that stayed with me. He said, "You're not old. You're inflamed." I laughed it off at first, but then I noticed something I couldn't ignore. He stood up faster than I did. He walked smoother than I did. And he complained far less than I did. What caught my attention wasn't a sales pitch or a miracle claim. It was how calm and certain he sounded when he explained what he had changed. He told me he focused on calming inflammation instead of fighting pain. And he mentioned a few herbs he used consistently, quietly, without expecting instant results. I was skeptical, but curious enough to look deeper. What I found surprised me. Study after study showed that chronic inflammation, not age itself, is one of the biggest reasons joints feel stiff and movement becomes difficult after 75. When inflammation stays active, joints swell, cartilage breaks down faster, and walking feels harder than it should. I'm not claiming miracles. I didn't wake up pain-free overnight, but walking became easier, standing up felt steadier, and movement stopped feeling like a daily struggle. In this video, I'm going to fully reveal and rank 5 herbs that helped calm inflammation, ease joint pain, and make walking feel easier again, from least impactful to most powerful. Stay with me until the end, because number 2 stood out in research for targeting the inflammatory pathways that affect knees, hips, and lower back in people over 75. If you're curious where this information comes from, the research behind it is shared in the description below. Before we dive in, here's a quick question for you. How old are you? Drop it in the comments. I read and reply to every single one. Now, let's start with number 5, the quiet herb most people overlook, even though it gently begins calming joint inflammation when the body needs it most. Number 5, devil's claw root. Starting our countdown at number 5 is a herb with a name that sounds intimidating, but delivers results that feel like pure relief, and that herb is devil's claw root. This remarkable plant grows in the harsh deserts of southern Africa, specifically in the Kalahari region, where indigenous healers have used it for centuries to treat everything from fever to digestive problems to the kind of deep joint pain that makes every step feel like punishment. The name comes from the plant's unusual fruit, which is covered in small hooks that look like claws. But do not let the fierce name fool you, because what this herb does inside your body is nothing short of gentle healing on a cellular level. The magic behind devil's claw lies in compounds called iridoid glycosides, with the most important one being harpagoside. And when researchers at the University of Freiburg in Germany studied this compound, they discovered something remarkable. Harpagoside works by blocking the production of inflammatory chemicals called cytokines and prostaglandins, which are essentially the messengers that tell your body to swell up, get hot, and send pain signals screaming to your brain. In a clinical trial published in the journal Phytomedicine, patients with osteoarthritis who took devil's claw extract for 4 months experienced significant reductions in pain and stiffness, with some participants able to reduce their dependence on conventional pain medications by more than half. What makes this herb particularly valuable for those over 75 is that it targets inflammation without the gastrointestinal damage that aspirin and ibuprofen are notorious for causing in older adults. The University of Maryland Medical Center reviewed multiple studies and concluded that devil's claw appears to be as effective as some pharmaceutical, anti-inflammatory drugs for managing chronic joint pain, which is extraordinary when you consider it comes from a plant growing wild in the African desert. To get the maximum benefit from devil's claw, you want to look for a standardized extract that contains at least 50 milligrams of harpagoside per dose, which is the amount used in most successful clinical trials. The most effective way to take it is as a capsule or tablet with food. because taking it on an empty stomach can sometimes cause mild digestive upset in sensitive individuals. Most studies use doses between 600 and 1200 milligrams of the dried root extract daily, divided into 2 or 3 doses throughout the day. You can also find devil's claw as a tea, though the bitter taste can be quite strong, and brewing it requires steeping about 4 grams of the dried root in 2 cups of boiling water for about 8 hours or overnight, then straining and drinking it in small portions throughout the day. For joint pain specifically, consistency is absolutely crucial because devil's claw is not a quick fix that works overnight. The clinical research shows that most people begin noticing significant improvements around the 4 to 8 week mark, so patience and daily commitment are essential. One important note is that devil's claw can interact with blood-thinning medications and may affect blood sugar levels, so if you are taking warfarin, aspirin therapy, or diabetes medications, you absolutely must talk with your doctor before adding this herb to your routine. The indigenous San people of the Kalahari, who first discovered this plant's healing properties, would brew it fresh and drink it daily as part of their traditional medicine. And modern science has proven their ancient wisdom was right all along. But if you think devil's claw is impressive, wait until you hear about the next herb on our list. But before we continue, if you have been enjoying the video so far, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more videos like this. Number 4. White willow bark. Coming in at number 4 is a herb that literally gave birth to one of the most widely used medications in human history, and that herb is white willow bark. For thousands of years, people across Europe, China, and the Middle East chewed on the bark of willow trees to relieve pain and reduce fever, and in 1897, a German chemist named Felix Hoffmann used this ancient remedy as the foundation to create aspirin, which went on to become the most consumed medicine on the planet. But here is what the pharmaceutical companies do not want you to know. The original willow bark contains a compound called salicin, which your body converts into salicylic acid, and this natural version works more gently and sustainably than its synthetic cousin because it comes packaged with other plant compounds that buffer and enhance its effects. When researchers at the Institute for Medical Informatics in Germany conducted a systematic review of clinical trials, they found that willow bark extract significantly reduced lower back pain and osteoarthritis symptoms, with some studies showing it worked just as well as the prescription anti-inflammatory drug rofecoxib, which was later pulled from the market due to dangerous cardiovascular side effects. The beauty of white willow bark is that it reduces inflammation through the same basic mechanism as aspirin by inhibiting the cyclooxygenase enzymes that produce inflammatory prostaglandins, but it does so more gradually because the salicin must be converted by your gut bacteria and liver before becoming active. This slower release means you get steady, sustained relief without the sharp spikes and crashes that come with taking a standard aspirin tablet, and multiple studies have shown that this natural form causes significantly less stomach irritation and bleeding risk than synthetic aspirin. To use white willow bark effectively, most clinical trials have used doses containing between 120 and 240 milligrams of salicin per day, which typically translates to about 1 to 2 grams of the dried bark if you are preparing it yourself. The easiest method is to purchase a standardized extract in capsule form that clearly states the salicin content on the label, taking it divided into 2 or 3 doses with meals throughout the day. If you prefer the traditional approach, you can make a tea by simmering about 2 teaspoons of dried white willow bark in 2 cups of water for 15 to 20 minutes, then straining and drinking 1 cup 2 to 3 times daily. The tea has a bitter, astringent taste that some people find unpleasant, so adding a small amount of honey or mixing it with peppermint can make it more palatable without reducing its effectiveness. Like aspirin, white willow bark should be avoided if you are allergic to salicylates, and it can interact with blood-thinning medications, so this is another herb where you need to have a conversation with your healthcare provider before starting. For joint pain specifically, The research shows that combining white willow bark with gentle daily movement produces better results than either approach alone, because the reduced inflammation allows you to move more freely, and that movement itself helps pump healing nutrients into your joint cartilage. The ancient Egyptians documented the use of willow bark for pain relief in the Ebers Papyrus over 3,500 years ago, and modern clinical science has validated what those early healers knew intuitively about this remarkable tree. Now let us move to a herb that takes inflammation fighting to an entirely different level. Number 3. Boswellia serrata. Landing at number 3 is a herb that comes from the same family of trees that produced frankincense, one of the legendary gifts brought to the infant Jesus, and that herb is Boswellia serrata. In the traditional Ayurvedic medicine of India, Boswellia has been used for over 3,000 years to treat inflammatory conditions, and when Western scientists finally began studying it in the 1970s, they discovered that this ancient remedy contains some of the most potent natural anti-inflammatory compounds ever identified. The active ingredients are called boswellic acids, and the most powerful of these is known as AKBA, which stands for acetyl 11-keto-beta boswellic acid. What makes these compounds so special is that they work through a mechanism that is completely different from aspirin, ibuprofen, and even the other herbs on this list. Boswellic acids specifically inhibit an enzyme called 5-lipoxygenase, which is responsible for producing inflammatory molecules called leukotrienes, and blocking this pathway addresses a type of inflammation that standard anti-inflammatory drugs simply cannot touch. In a landmark study published in the journal Arthritis Research and Therapy, patients with osteoarthritis of the knee who took Boswellia extract experienced significant improvements in pain, stiffness, and physical function within just 7 days, which is remarkably fast for a natural remedy. Even more impressive, a study from the University of California, Davis found that Boswellia reduced cartilage damage markers in patients with knee osteoarthritis, suggesting that it might actually help protect and preserve joint tissue rather than just masking symptoms. The key to getting maximum benefit from Boswellia is choosing a high-quality extract that is standardized to contain at least 65% boswellic acids, with a significant percentage of the AKBA compound specifically. Most successful clinical trials have used doses between 300 and 500 milligrams of this standardized extract, taken 2 to 3 times daily with meals that contain some fat, because the boswellic acids are fat-soluble and absorb much better when taken with dietary fat. This is important to understand because taking Boswellia on an empty stomach or with a fat-free meal will dramatically reduce how much of the active compound actually gets into your bloodstream and reaches your joints. Some newer supplement formulations use special delivery technologies to enhance absorption, and research shows these enhanced versions can achieve blood levels up to 5 times higher than standard extracts at the same dose. You can also find Boswellia resin in its raw form, which can be chewed directly or dissolved in warm water, though the taste is intensely bitter and resinous, and most people find the capsule form much more practical for daily use. Unlike many anti-inflammatory herbs, Boswellia has shown an excellent safety profile in clinical trials, with very few side effects reported even at high doses, making it particularly suitable for older adults who may be taking multiple medications and worrying about interactions. The ancient healers of India considered Boswellia sacred and used it in religious ceremonies as well as medicine, burning the resin as incense to purify spaces and calm the mind. And it turns out that inhaling the smoke may also have anti-inflammatory effects on the airways and brain. What comes next on our list takes the science of natural inflammation relief even further. Number 2. Ginger root. Arriving at number 2 is a herb that probably sits in your kitchen right now, a herb so common that most people completely underestimate its extraordinary medicinal power, and that herb is ginger root. Ginger has been used medicinally for over 5,000 years across virtually every traditional healing system on Earth, From traditional Chinese medicine to Ayurveda to the folk remedies of Europe and the Americas. But only in recent decades has science begun to truly understand why this knobby root works so remarkably well for inflammation and joint pain. The active compounds in ginger are called gingerols and shogols, and these molecules work on multiple inflammatory pathways simultaneously, which is something that sets ginger apart from most pharmaceutical anti-inflammatories that typically target only one pathway. Researchers at the University of Miami conducted a study on patients with osteoarthritis of the knee and found that those who took ginger extract experienced significantly greater reductions in knee pain compared to those taking a placebo, and the ginger group also reported improved function and quality of life. But here is where it gets really interesting for those over 75. A study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that ginger not only reduces inflammation, but also appears to inhibit the synthesis of prostaglandins at the genetic level, meaning it can actually turn down the volume on inflammation before it even starts, rather than just cleaning up the damage afterward. The gingerols in fresh ginger convert to shogols when the root is dried or cooked, and both forms have powerful anti-inflammatory effects, though they work through slightly different mechanisms, which is why many experts recommend getting ginger in multiple forms throughout the day. To harness ginger's full anti-inflammatory potential, you want to consume between 2 and 4 grams of fresh ginger root daily, which is roughly equivalent to about 1 inch of fresh root or 1 teaspoon of dried ginger powder. One of the most effective methods is to make fresh ginger tea by slicing about 2 inches of fresh root into thin coins, simmering them in 4 cups of water for 20 minutes, then straining and drinking throughout the day, adding lemon and a small amount of honey if desired. You can also grate fresh ginger directly into your meals, add it to smoothies, or juice it along with other vegetables and fruits for a potent anti-inflammatory tonic. For those who prefer convenience, ginger supplements standardized to contain at least 5% gingerols have shown effectiveness in clinical trials at doses of 250 to 500 milligrams taken 2 to 4 times daily. One preparation method that maximizes the anti-inflammatory compounds is to make ginger paste by blending fresh root with a small amount of coconut oil, which helps extract the fat-soluble compounds and also aids absorption in your digestive system. Fresh ginger can also be applied topically as a compress for localized joint pain by grating it, wrapping it in cheesecloth, and applying it to the affected area for 15 to 20 minutes, though you should test a small area first as some people experience skin sensitivity. The beautiful thing about ginger is its safety profile, as it has been consumed as food for thousands of years, though if you are taking blood-thinning medications or have gallbladder disease, you should check with your doctor about appropriate doses for your specific situation. And now we arrive at the herb that sits at the very top of this list for a very important reason. Number 1. Turmeric with black pepper. Claiming the number 1 spot on our countdown, the herb that research shows may be the single most powerful natural anti-inflammatory substance available to humanity is turmeric combined with black pepper. This golden spice that gives curry its distinctive yellow color has been used in Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine for over 4,000 years, and when modern scientists began studying it seriously in the 1970s, they discovered that its active compound, curcumin, works on inflammation in a way that is almost unprecedented in nature. Curcumin has been shown in over 8,000 published studies to reduce inflammation by blocking NF-kappa B, which is a molecule that travels into the nuclei of your cells and turns on genes related to inflammation, and this is the same inflammatory pathway that is activated in almost every chronic disease known to medicine. In a landmark study published in the Journal of Clinical Immunology, researchers found that curcumin reduced inflammatory cytokines by up to 49% in elderly participants, which is the study I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and the implications of this finding are enormous for anyone dealing with chronic joint pain. The Arthritis Foundation reviewed multiple studies and concluded that turmeric supplements of 400 to 600 milligrams taken 3 times daily can provide meaningful relief from osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis symptoms, with some studies showing it works, as well as ibuprofen for knee osteoarthritis pain. But here is the critical detail that most people miss, and that makes the difference between turmeric working brilliantly or barely working at all. Curcumin on its own is very poorly absorbed by your body, with most of it passing right through your digestive system without ever reaching your bloodstream, which is why you absolutely must combine turmeric with black pepper. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine that inhibits the enzymes in your gut and liver that normally break down curcumin before it can be absorbed, and studies show that adding just a small amount of black pepper increases curcumin absorption by an astonishing 2,000%. To get the maximum benefit, you want to take a turmeric supplement that is standardized to contain 95% curcuminoids at a dose of 500 milligrams, combined with at least 5 to 10 milligrams of piperine from black pepper extract, taken 2 to 3 times daily with meals that contain healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, or nuts. You can also create a powerful homemade preparation called golden paste by mixing 1/2 cup of turmeric powder with 1 cup of water in a pot, heating and stirring over low heat for about 8 minutes until it forms a thick paste, then stirring in 1½ teaspoons of fresh ground black pepper and 1/4 cup of coconut or olive oil, storing this in the refrigerator and taking 1 teaspoon 2 to 3 times daily mixed into warm milk, yogurt, or smoothies. Some people experience better results with newer formulations that use special technologies like liposomal delivery or phytosome complexes, which can increase absorption even beyond what piperine provides, though these tend to be more expensive than standard supplements. The anti-inflammatory effects of turmeric can begin to be noticed within 2 to 4 weeks of consistent daily use, but the full benefits often take 8 to 12 weeks to develop, so patience and consistency are absolutely essential for success. Studies have also shown that turmeric works synergistically with the other herbs on this list, particularly ginger and boswellia, so combining them may provide even greater relief than any single herb alone. The ancient healers of India called turmeric the spice of life and considered it essential for maintaining health into old age, and modern science has proven that their reverence for this golden root was completely justified. Now that you have this complete list of 5 remarkable inflammation-fighting herbs, from devil's claw at number 5 all the way to turmeric with black pepper at number 1, you have in your hands a natural toolkit that addresses joint pain and inflammation through multiple mechanisms that work together synergistically to help restore the comfortable, easy movement you deserve to enjoy every single day. The science is clear that chronic inflammation is not something you simply have to accept as an inevitable part of aging, and these herbs, which have been validated by thousands of years of traditional use and hundreds of modern clinical studies, offer a safe and effective path forward for anyone ready to take control of their joint health naturally. Remember that consistency is the key to success with all of these remedies, as natural compounds work gently with your body's own healing systems rather than forcing immediate changes, and most people find that the combination of reduced pain and improved mobility continues to grow stronger over the first 3 months of regular use. If this video opened your eyes to the power of natural medicine for joint pain and inflammation, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification so you never miss another video that could transform your health. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.